Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Book and Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Stunning Steve Barber, and joining me, as always, is my awesome co-host, the intellectual rock star himself, Delicious Dwaylen Davis.
Hey, everybody.
And for those of you who maybe seen this a little bit early or a little bit late, depending on how you look at it, yesterday was Memorial Day, so Joel and I we made the executive decision to not record because it was a holiday, and I was at a cookout until almost 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night at my sister-in-law's house. Because my nephew was in town from Camp Lejeune, so with his new girlfriend. So we actually got to spend some time with them and meet her, and she's from North Carolina, so I had to ask her the all important question of North Carolina or Duke. And
She said Duke, didn't she?
nope, she
Oh,
passed it. She said North Carolina. So
okay.
and she said she's actually been in Chapel Hill before during the North Carolina Duke game. She's never been to the
Oh,
game
well.
itself, but just being there, she said that's still just crazy. So but yeah, so we had some, had some burgers, had some dogs, had some fish that one of my sister-in-law's brother-in-law, yeah, um, that he brought, and
Yeah.
yep, yeah, it's her husband's sister's husband, yeah. So my wife's sister's sister's husband, um,
Okay.
also named Steve. Yeah, but he had made a trip to Florida recently, came back with a lot of fish and also some alligator meat. So had a little bit of that, and but everybody had a good time. The kids had a good time, and so but yeah, we didn't get home until actually close to 10 last night. So yeah, not really the best time to try to record.
Yeah.
So
We went on a family picnic, let the kids play at the park, and everybody had a good time. And then everybody came home and crashed because we're all wore out from doing the food truck last week.
oh yeah. Um and and here, this was actually kind of wild. They didn't have any diet drinks over at my sister-in-law's house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was ending up drinking like full flavored,
Mm-hmm.
and I was eating some desserts like some peach cobbler and some Jello cake.
Right.
When it went to go check my sugar this morning, I'm pretty sure it was gonna like start flashing bells and whistles. It didn't. It was at 103.
That's awesome.
So I'm like, I mean, granted, I took my medicine as soon as I got home because I had not taken it yet,
Right.
because I forgot to bring it with me. But still, I mean, it was at 103, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay,
It's
that's
like, I'll
kind of
take it.
yeah. So that it kind of caught me off guard. But speaking of last week, you realize this is the first time in actually over a week that we've recorded without doing an interview.
Yes. Yep.
So
Yep.
definitely want to give a big old thank you to Big Mama, to Breezy, to Savannah Sweet, and to Riley Matthews. They all came on the show last week,
Mm-hmm.
and we all had a good time, and some great interviews. And I was able to see all of them this past weekend at
Awesome.
Revolution Rising. Um,
Shout out to Savannah Sweet. She only wrestles championship matches, and she won the championship.
yep. So that means that you know um, until she has to relinquish the belt for whatever reason until she's no longer that champion, she will still be wrestling
Only
championship matches.
championship matches. Yep.
Yep. So um, Riley won her match against Marty Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Big Mama, honestly, I don't remember. Actually, I think she lost her match too.
Mm.
Oh, she did because Breezy accidentally cracked her in the back with her crutch.
Oh. Mm.
Yeah, the Busted Loose, it had more footage of the weekend before in Ludlow than it did this one, even though it had at the beginning, it actually showed Riley pinning Marty Bell,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're congratulating her, and then Noah came back and he cut her off, and
Yeah,
he
I
said
saw
it's the
that.
summer. Yep. So I don't know why they didn't have all the footage. But either way, I did talk to some of the girls from the PGWA from the other organization that was there with the NWF and trying to set up some interviews. And the ones I talked to said, "Yeah, oh, absolutely. Give us a shout and we'll hook something up." So yeah, but yeah, but that was a good time. Jack Stinger, of course, she was there. you know, and yeah, she won her match. Nikki Victory was in the main event, and for the life of me, I think she actually lost her match. But I had my daughter went with me, and of course, she doesn't really watch wrestling.
Right.
She had a fun time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and she was asking a lot of questions about different things. Now, she does not want to be a wrestler, and she has nary an athletic bone in her body. She'll be the first one to tell you that. But she was very interested in like how it works,
Hmm.
and and she's like, no, she's like, how does somebody become a wrestler? How do they get in the business? Because she is seriously thinking she's like, hey, you know what? I think being an announcer, I think that would be kind of fun, or doing like the
Cool.
editing of the video. So I mean, that is something I have not talked uh to Big Mama yet about that,
Right.
but um maybe that is something Avery could do because I said editing, I said to give you a different kind of experience doing the video editing.
Hmm.
And I was pointing out, where they have their cameras, um, set up whenever they're recorded. Basically, they had the two cameras. One's a hard cam,
Hmm.
and the other one was Stephen Kane walking around with,
Hmm.
now
Okay.
their cameras are actually their iPhones, but
Yeah.
it still gets the job done. So
Hmm.
um, so that is something that she is interested in. But yeah, but Revolution Rising, I mean, it was a really good event, and people there, they all had fun. Got to hang out with the guys from the Dad World Order, a little bit. Got to hang out with Trey and Courtney.
Cool.
I want to say hi to Trey and Courtney because they are very faithful listeners to the show. Um, and speaking of the interviews, it's kind of funny that Riley Matthews, when this show was still on Block Talk Radio as the host, did Riley's interview. It was almost 2 years ago, and it quickly shot up to become the most listened to interview. Now, of course, when we moved to Spreaker, of course, all those stats went away, so I have no
Yeah.
idea, what it is now. But when I checked, in fact, I have not checked it today. Oh, right now, her interview on YouTube is has the third highest amount of views already.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yep. The only two ahead of her are um, Big Mama with 1.1K. That's what it says. It doesn't have
Hmm.
anything but 1.1K views, so 1,100 views at least. Buff Bagwell with 508.
Hmm.
So he has less than half of what Big Mama's interview, and this is the Big Mama interview from last year.
Yeah.
And then Riley with 211, and that hurt. She got that in 4 days. Um, and we've also picked up some subscribers at that same time.
Awesome.
Yep. So we need to have Riley back on the show for the fact that it's getting us. I mean, not unless I
She's a
mean
she's
she's
an excellent interview.
yeah, she's great in the ring, excellent interview, um, just a fun person to talk to, great person just all around.
Hmm.
She gets it. She's 20 years old, but you wouldn't realize that because I mean she already thinks in a lot of ways like a veteran because she's just so in. She's always wanting to improve herself in what she's doing. So,
Right.
but but yeah, like I said, great show. If you have never had a chance to catch Northern Wrestling Federation, go check them out. And also I want to give a couple more shout outs before we get into it because um, last week it's hard to give the shout outs a lot of times we're doing the interviews and so we end up missing out on them. But
Hmm.
definitely want to give a shout out to Ted. Now we did mention Ted because we asked people to give their contact information first, but Ted the
Yeah.
Hillbilly Hill with the Hill Truth. Mentioned BC Hunter and Jay Myers at Wrestling with the Truth, Wrestling with the War. Right now it's going by a couple of different names, Wrestling with the 80s, because right now BC is running solo, and he's also doing a couple of YouTube channels.
Mm.
One of which he's talking about all about the 80s, doing a great job on and everything he's doing. So very, very busy man. Um, and we were actually just tagged today. I got to make sure I don't forget to let, um, well, course, BC, he's also been, retweeting when we had Wildcat Chris Harris on. Chris Harris also just retweeted that. By the way, I was able to speak to him for a little bit, and he's
Cool.
wanting to give us some more people to interview. But finish your wrestling. We need to get those guys on here too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they also have a great show. I like listening to them. So yeah, they gave us some shout outs along with DWO because they actually had DWO on their show not too long ago. So
That's pretty cool.
oh yeah, and I really enjoy this podcasting family. Because that was one of the things that when people are talking about, oh, I want to start a podcast, it's not something that gets talked about because you don't think
Right.
about it until all of a sudden you realize when you get into it that it is kind of a family and we all support each other. Yeah, because we're all trying to help each
Yeah.
other. So, but yeah, I definitely want to give a shout out to all those guys, because they've been so good to us, and so we just kind of want to at least try to repay the favor. So, but along with Revolution Rising on Saturday, that was like an all day wrestling day, for me. And of course, earlier in the day, starting the kickoff show was at noon Eastern time, but Night of Champions going all the way from Jeddah in Saudi Arabia.
Yep. Yep.
What'd you think?
I thought it was an excellent show. Whoever's booking these past few shows, keep booking them like this because there was no filler matches.
There wasn't,
and that's been a big, complaint of mine in the past that WWE is bad about having these premium live events and then padding them with matches that should be on Raw or SmackDown, but not on a pay-per-view.
Well, there was one that we might want to call a filler match. And I actually had totally forgotten about it.
Which one?
SmackDown Women's Championship, Rhea and Natalya. And I say that because it was a minute and 10 seconds long.
True, but
yeah, but
I think it served its purpose though. It was, it was supposed to show how dominant, Rhea is. I think it served its purpose. Plus, there's no telling a match might have gone long and their match got cut. You never know.
That's true. And Natalya, Natalya, she's always been very loyal. She gets the business, obviously, in third generation. But she may go, I flew all the way over here and had to dress up like this in this hot suit for this.
Yeah.
So.
But she's veteran enough to probably think, well, Rhea's the next, Rhea's the big star, so I got to do my job to put her over. Not that Rhea needed to get over, but it did show. If they were trying to show how dominant she is, that match absolutely showed it.
Oh yeah. And I have to admit, I did not watch Raw last night. I haven't even watched the ups and downs yet. And that's my fault. I do know there's been some things that have happened, but I don't know everything. And so I apologize to everybody for that, especially if you've already watched Raw. But like I said, I did not get home until about 10 o'clock last night, and there was about an hour left of the show. And I'd actually kind of forgotten about it. but we can go, kind of match by match and, kind of discuss our opinions about how they were. But yeah, Seth Rollins and AJ Styles ended exactly what we thought. The outcome was what we thought it was going to be.
Excellent match, which is to be expected with these two.
And I did like this one, like you said, it's not a filler match. This didn't feel like a Raw match or a SmackDown match. This does not feel like a TV match. This was an actual what you'd want to see on a pay-per-view.
Yeah. And there were some complaints that this match was going on first, because they're crowning a new world champion. The reason it went on first is because Seth Rollins had to leave Jeddah to come back to the States to finish filming his part in the next Captain America movie. So, he had obligations. Company worked around those. Still got an excellent match. Right person won the title. I don't have any complaints about it.
No, I mean,
or its placement on the card.
and they had the drama in there, and
Hmm.
AJ getting the calf crusher on him, and then him selling it. You
Yep.
know, they didn't have too many of the false finishes where they make their finishing moves look weak.
Yeah.
You also had AJ hit Seth with his own finishing move at one point,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that just a good overall match. I liked it, like the outcome. Just like, I mean, we called it. I don't think that was in doubt, to be honest with you.
No, I don't either. It's like there was some rumors that WWE wasn't sure about putting the belt on Seth since he does have, Hollywood commitments, but it's like with the title being exclusive to Raw, Seth was the only choice. It made no sense to put it on AJ because then you have to move AJ to Raw, and they've already
Right.
got that problem with another championship that we'll get to.
Yeah. But the next match, Trish and Becky. I like Trish Stratus. She needs to stay retired, though. I don't understand. If you're in the Hall of Fame, you're retired in the Hall of Fame. Why are you coming back?
And here's the thing, bless her heart, Becky did everything she could to carry Trish through that match, but you
Mm-hmm.
could obviously see the ring rust
Mm-hmm.
on Trish. And, you know, and nothing against her. She hasn't wrestled forever, but, sporadically here and there throughout the years. But it's just, I think the next match will probably be better because this feud's going to continue. And I do like them adding Zoe Stark into it because I liked Zoe Stark when she was in NXT. I think if she's pushed right, she could be a big deal on the main roster. So I like that combination because it gives Becky somebody to have to go through in order to get to Trish again.
And Trish may not have been used to wrestling while she's fully fully covered,
Yeah.
because normally, remember, she's just basically wrestling, in a bikini before,
Yeah, basically, yeah.
and can't do that in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-mm.
So that was something else she probably had to get used to. Whereas Becky's actually wrestled over there before, so she
Yep.
was,
Yeah.
um, she'd done it before. So,
And
um,
I do like the nods in their ring attire. Trish's ring attire is was kind of a tribute to the attire that she wore when her and Lita main evented Raw,
okay,
which was the first women's match to ever main event Monday Night Raw. And then, of course, Becky's was from Kill Bill.
all right, um, yeah, because that kind of has been her thing. So,
Hmm.
um, now Gunther and Mustafa Ali, um, I like how the beginning, because with the matches, the event taking place in Jeddah,
Hmm.
and of course that is home, for the Islamic faith. I mean, Jeddah is like one of the big epicenters,
Yeah.
um, for Islam, and they don't really talk too much about Mustafa Ali or Sami Zayn for that fact. I mean, and we'll definitely cover
Yeah.
that one later on. Um, but when they actually show him, actually going to, and I can't think of the name of it, and I apologize for not knowing the name of it, but it's the big black box looking thing, and I can't.
Hmm.
And like I said, I apologize if that sounds bad, but I
Yeah. I
cannot.
can't.
It actually has a
I
name,
can't think. Yeah, I can't think of the name of it either.
but that's a huge deal. I don't know if Mustafa Ali's ever been able to visit before, because that's part of the thing. Um, if you're Muslim, part of the thing is you're supposed to be able to travel there at some
Yeah.
point. And I don't know if he's ever been able to do it before, but they actually show him. I mean, you know, um, and they showed him and Sami Zayn both getting a little bit of their hair cut. There's got to be some kind of semblance to that.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's got to be some type of significance to that.
Yep. So, but when he came out, of course, he got a huge pop. You know,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, and and he's wearing like the headgear, like the Arabic
Hmm.
headgear, and
Yep.
of course, the funny thing about it, he's not even Arabic; he's Pakistani, but
Yeah.
but it still worked.
Yeah.
And great match, and this one also ended like we thought it probably would. You know,
But it, but I'm glad it wasn't a squash, and I'm glad Ali got that platform to show what he's capable of doing.
yeah,
Because I mean, he didn't just lay down for Gunther. He, he took the fight to him, and there was a few times where you thought, oh, he might pull this out.
yeah, and but Gunther, Gunther looks like a strong champion.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's already he's third place all time for the longest intercontinental title reign. Honky Tonk Man, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Gunther. So he is in rarefied air.
Yep. I still say honky tonk. Of all the things,
Yeah,
honky tonk man is the,
and that's the thing too. No disrespect to Chris Jericho, one of the greatest of all time. He's held the Intercontinental title 9 times. He still holds that record for as many times, but that means he's lost it 9 times.
right.
I would rather see a reign like Gunther's that goes a long time instead of multiple reigns that are only a couple weeks or 30 days,
Right.
in length. I guess I'm an old school wrestling fan, and I prefer a longer singular reign than 15 small ones.
Yep. Um, I just wish the honky tonk man would have had a really, really short reign. And
I wish the Honky Tonk Man never would have got the Intercontinental title.
yeah, so I wish Butch Reed would have showed up that night like he was supposed to. So
Yep.
I said Hulk Hogan, what about him? So and if you
Well,
don't
it
know
was
that,
just because Honky Tonk Man was one of Hogan's buddies.
man, that's another thing, yeah. But yeah, like we're both saying, yeah, really good match. And that one once again was one of those it did exactly what we thought it was going to do. It was going to be a
Hmm.
good match and had some good aerial stuff. But of course, Gunther is not an aerial guy.
But that shotgun drop kick that he does, a guy his size throwing that drop kick,
Yes.
and then
Oh,
I love the fact I've always been a fan of the power bomb. It has always been
yep.
one of my favorite moves, and I love the fact that Gunther's finish is a power bomb.
And he does it, and he doesn't walk away. He does it and then holds it on and pins.
Yeah, and goes straight for the pin. Yeah.
Yep. So, and no false finishes.
Hmm.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Next one, of course, Asuka and Bianca, and
Another excellent match. I'm
yep.
loving this version of Asuka. I know I've said it multiple times on the show, but this is really reminiscent of Asuka when she was still wrestling in Japan. And I like the character work, love the new face paint, uh, everything. My only knock, and it's not against the match. The match was excellent. They still have a SmackDown person holding the Raw Women's Championship
Yep.
because Asuka got drafted to SmackDown as well. I get to getting the title off Bianca because she did get drafted to SmackDown, but then you just put it on another SmackDown wrestler, so you still have the same problem.
And
But the match itself was excellent. Um, Great selling on Bianca's part with the arm. Um, and then with that was, I like the little touch of Asuka spitting the mist on her fingers and then putting it
yes,
in Bianca's eyes to blind her. Just a good match. Two exceptional wrestlers putting on a great match.
and when I saw her kind of rubbing on her fingers, I'm like, that's a nod
Mm-hmm.
to Kabuki because I saw Kabuki
Yep.
do that before.
Yep. And Muda had done that too in the NWA when him and Sting were feuding over the TV title. Muda had done that before.
And of course, Bianca, she sold that really
Yeah.
well. Um,
Yeah. She sold it like death, which she was supposed to.
Now you think it was a little humid inside that stadium?
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah, because the way her hair looked very, very frayed because
Yeah.
the humidity was just
Oh yeah.
doing a number on it. And I think eventually she's going to have to cut that braid, um,
Yeah,
because
eventually because it's part of the look I get, but it's also been used a lot of times against her
mhm,
in matches.
and she could get legitimately injured if it gets caught and all of a sudden it jerks her head back.
Hmm. Yep.
So um, but we haven't seen too many people using it, but just enough to where you kind of know it's there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was frayed to the point it almost looked like a horse's tail the way it was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
you
That
know
humidity was just like,
just oh man, it was just tearing her up. And um
but I'm glad Oscar won. Oscar
yeah,
deserved this. She needed this. You know, hats off to Bianca, the longest women's title reign in the modern era.
yeah, and she definitely finally after that whole debacle of she finally got it, looked good, and all of a sudden, oh,
Hmm.
Becky's back. Let's just give it to Becky
Yeah.
right now in a
Yeah.
6 second squash or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That just all of a sudden it's like, oh well, they just deflated Bianca by a lot.
Hmm. Yeah. And she definitely had to build herself back up. But this 400 plus day title reign definitely did it.
And the crowd didn't seem to be into this match as much. I don't know.
Not until um, maybe the last third of the match.
Right.
They kind of came alive. They might have just been fatigued because I mean they were in Mustafa Ali. They were into that match.
Yeah.
They were hot for everything. So it might have just been a matter of just crowd fatigue that made it just needed
Could
a
have
minute.
been. Um, because I think the crowd in Saudi, they seem to be a lot more open to women's wrestling now than what they were in the past.
Hmm.
So, uh, but yeah, so now we'll have to see. I want to see this rematch. Is it going to be on the next pay-per-view, maybe?
Yeah.
Um, and of course, they could have the whole deal where she got blinded. I really hope they don't do a blindfold match. I'm not a fan of blindfold matches. It's
I'm
hard to
not
do.
either. I've seen two of them, and they were both dumb.
Uh, so yeah, WrestleMania 7 with Jake the
Hmm.
Snake and Rick Martel.
Yeah, and
Um,
then Triple H had one with somebody on Raw one time. It was during the Reign of Terror, and but he just cheated. He just flipped the blindfold up and saw where his opponent was, hit the pedigree, and won the match.
Jimmy Garvin had one against Kevin Sullivan one time
Oh,
during
did he?
one of the Great American Bashes. And yeah, that one, same thing. Those matches are just bad. And then, oh, actually, Wildcat, him and James
That's
Storm
right.
had that.
I forgot they had that one. I can't remember. I don't think I've seen that one. I remember it advertised, but I can't remember if I've seen that one or not.
I've caught the video of it, and because I remember we asked him about it the first time he was on the show, and he's like, he admitted, yeah, it was a bad match. He said, but what can you do when you have that bag? He said,
Yeah,
and yeah, they can see through it, but
yeah.
but it's still going to hinder your vision. And
Hmm.
then they were put in that weird cage. It's just it.
Yeah.
There was
A
no
six
way.
sided cage. So yeah.
Yeah, you're not, and so of course it made everything smaller.
Hmm.
And he said you're just not going to be able to get a good match out of that, which I agree with
No.
it. So, but and then the next match we've actually kind of mentioned this match, and it was Rhea and Natalia.
Yeah. The match.
Uh,
Yeah. It took longer for them to get to the ring than the match did. Than the match took. I think they said the match was 53 seconds
okay.
from bell to bell.
Wikipedia has it listed as a minute 10, so close
Mm,
enough.
close
And
enough. Yeah.
and that was one of the ones like getting ready to start, and I turned my head for a second to do something, probably getting
Yeah,
the
and it's over.
it's
It's
over.
like
I'm like, I feel like the guy who went to the snack bar during that one Mike Tyson fight. You know,
yeah, yeah.
and
But Rhea is so over, and Dominic Mysterio is just fantastic. Just he is just that sniveling little heel that you know he's playing the perfect he's playing the perfect part. He's the sniveling little heel who's got all this backup over here, and he says and does all this crap because he knows he's got Finn and Damien and Rhea to back him up.
And so that match is going
Ex Condom is
ex-con Dom.
fantastic.
uh, and yeah. Now, when they finally split up, because I mean, that one can't last forever.
Yeah, yeah,
But when they split up, it's going to be. I have a feeling he's actually probably going to turn back face.
probably. But I mean, he's getting a wealth of experience right now.
He is.
And I know Rhea's only 26 years old, 27 actually now, but she's been doing this quite a while. You can tell she understands the business. Rhea is a star and gets what it takes to be a star. Finn Balor's been all over the world. Damian Priest has been all over the world. He's getting. I can't think of besides his father. I can't think of better people to learn from than the people he's around right now.
And talk about like an international faction too.
Yeah,
Man. Man, she is only 27, isn't she?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
but I mean, she's wrestled like, well, like you said, she's been around a lot longer than what people would realize.
yeah. She's probably wrestled at least a decade already,
Okay.
from the independents in Australia to you know coming up through NXT and then the main roster. It's like, and she's already a vet, and she's really just getting started. She's really just hitting her stride. Like her character right now is, it feels like this is where everything was leading to, is this version of Rhea Ripley right here.
They're going to have to break her off from the Judgment Day because,
Eventually she will
yeah,
outgrow them. Yeah,
yeah.
she'll end up being, because she's already the biggest star in that group. No disrespect to anybody else in that group, but Rhea Ripley is head and shoulders above the rest of them as far as star power in right now in this day and age. Yeah, she'll eventually have to break away because she'll outgrow them.
But the next match, Lesnar and Cody Rhodes, brutal.
Mm-hmm. It was a
And
fight, which
it
is
was a,
what we expected.
yep. And, you know, um, it ended in a way, and of course, we said this before, Cody may have lost the fight, the actual match, but he still looked good in defeat because he didn't actually submit.
Exactly. It's like the Austin thing, like at WrestleMania 13 with Bret Hart. Austin technically lost, but Austin got over.
Yeah.
He lost, he passed out, but he got over. Cody's even more over now than he was before. And it just keeps building and building. And like every obstacle that gets put in his place in his way, it's like that popularity keeps building. And if they're leading back to him and Roman at WrestleMania next year, then they've got to pull the trigger and put the belt on Cody. Because if
Yep.
they don't, they're missing a huge opportunity. Because here's a guy that, and Roman has been the same type of guy. Here's a guy that he's got the look to represent your company in media. He can talk, you know, um, carries himself like a champion, looks like a champion. Everything you would want being the face of your company is Cody, just like Roman is everything you want to be the face of the company. All of this, hopefully, all of this is leading to him actually finishing this story and being the first Rhodes to win the WWE Championship.
Yeah,
Because this match was excellent. You could tell Lesnar was into it, which you always get. Lesnar is an excellent pro wrestler when he's motivated to do so.
when he's motivated. Yeah.
That's the thing. But I think Brock gets. It's been said that Brock prefers to wrestle guys smaller than him because he said both of them can do more. There's a better story there than there
Yep.
is with him wrestling guys like the Big Show and stuff like that. He wrestles these big monsters. There's no story. There's just Brock F5 this huge dude, and that's it.
And Cody with the broken arm. Now, I honestly don't
Mm-hmm.
know if that's legit or if it's
I don't think so. I haven't seen anywhere that was saying that it was a legit broken arm, but I like how they played it up in story. I even like how they were talking about the cast was like titanium and all that stuff to play up the fact that he was walking in with a broken arm. Um, but I thought this was another excellent match. Lesnar sold for Cody. I mean, Cody hit three crossroads on Lesnar. Uh, and then Lesnar caught him on the last attempt and put him in the Kimura, and Cody passed out, which leaves it open for the rubber match.
Mm-hmm.
And it it leaves it open for the rubber match, but there were no shenanigans, so it wasn't one of those. We got to get another one of these. I actually want to see what they do in the next match.
Right, because this is one of the ones when this particular feud, when Brock first attacked Cody,
Mm-hmm.
everybody, including us, said,
Yeah,
"What are they doing?"
yeah. Because there's never been any explanation of why Brock attacked him, but it kind of it kind of works because it's Brock and he doesn't really
Mhm.
need an explanation to just beat the crap out of somebody. He does it because he wants to. But yeah, as soon as he attacked Cody, I was like, well, there goes Cody's push.
Yeah. Of course, you know what? It wouldn't surprise me, and then just as kind of throwing it out there, because Brock, of course, he was Heyman's guy for
Mm-hmm.
a few years, and then all of a sudden, Heyman's now with Roman,
Yeah.
and it's very similar to the whole Undertaker Kane thing with Paul Bearer, because Paul Bearer,
Yeah.
remember,
Mm-hmm.
um, but there's the possibility that Brock could be doing this in cahoots with Paul Heyman because the bloodline is pretty much shattering, and we can
Oh yeah.
we'll definitely discuss that with the
Mm-hmm.
next
Yeah.
match. And so Roman, everybody's leaving him because what's Solo Sikoa going to do?
Yeah. I
Is he
mean,
going
where's Solo going to go? Is he going to go with his brothers or is he going to go with his cousin?
to?
He's going to go with his brothers.
By the way, we need to bring Samoa Joe back for just a triple threat match with Roman and Solo Sikoa because it would have.
Oh,
You know why? Samoa
they're,
Joe and two Samoans named Joe.
yep. Yep.
So, because I saw Solo Sikoa, his real name is actually Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Roman Reigns, his real name,
Yep.
middle name anyway, is Joseph, and he goes by Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all the Samoans named Joe, get them all a
In one
match
match,
in one match.
which would be an excellent match
It
too.
really would. It'd be brutal,
Oh yeah.
and no telling, because we know Samoa Joe is one of the coolest dudes in the ring anyway.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, and Roman, he just kind of he has that the Aquaman Jason Momoa look.
Yeah. And he's just got this version of Roman. It's like, they talk about like this the once in a lifetime characters that come through wrestling. This version of Roman Reigns, enjoy it while it's happening because once he's done with it, you'll never see anything like this again because he has just embraced every bit of this, and his character work is so great and he's so smug and he's so, disingenuous, but at the same time, it's like you can't help but root for him.
Yeah, and Solo Sikoa, he just has that. You're not
Oh,
gonna.
he's Umaga 2.0.
He
He's
really
he
is.
is like,
Yep.
yeah, he is Umaga. And I always liked Umaga, rest in peace. But I always liked his work. And so I'm really liking Solo's work so far.
But before the match began between, of course, Sammy and KO defending
Hmm.
their titles against, of course, Roman and Solo Sikoa, they were showing the same thing with Sammy like they did with Mustafa
Hmm.
Ali because they're in
Yeah.
Jeddah.
Yep.
And for Sami Zayn, it meant probably even more because of all the political things that were
Yeah.
keeping him from even going to Saudi in years past.
Yeah.
And now he's there, and they showed. Now I'm gonna have to. I bet the cameraman was probably also Muslim
Hmm.
because that's one of the things to enter where they were, from what I understand. I could be wrong. And if anybody wants to correct me, go ahead and please let me know. If I'm wrong, let me know I'm wrong. You have to be Muslim to enter that, to actually
Oh, okay.
partake in that. So that means the cameraman would also have to be Muslim.
Right.
But they showed Sammy, I mean, and you could tell how much it meant to him.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then he comes, his music hits. He comes out in the you know, traditional robe, and the crowd just lost their
But
mind. And you could see he was having a hard time holding it together.
that's when I texted you, by the way.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah. I
said,
mean, yeah. Steve
yeah.
said, he is, my God, is he over? And yeah, he is so over. And which Paul Heyman has, in interviews, has done nothing but sing the praises of Sami Zayn. When he's asked about Sami, he said, you look at a guy that last year at WrestleMania was getting body slammed by Wee Man
Yeah.
and getting knocked down by a giant prop hand and all this silliness that was, and then loses to Johnny Knoxville.
Treated as a
He's
joke.
like, yeah, he's like 1 year later, he is the most over member of the bloodline and is main eventing WrestleMania. He's like, that speaks to Sami Zayn's work ethic. He's like, because that wasn't the machine getting behind Sami and pushing him to the top. That was Sami saying, I deserve better than this. So I'm going to do the work and get myself where I want to be.
And it was, and of course, Vince being ousted
Yeah.
because
Vince being
Vince,
gone.
yeah, because that was the one thing holding Sammy back. Obviously, not Sammy's fault
Yeah. It was
because,
Vince McMahon.
yeah, he didn't like
Vince took
Sammy's
one look at
character.
Sami and yeah, he didn't, he was like, oh, well, he's too small. And so that's it. If you look at the guys that are huge stars in WWE right now, they are not the Giants. They're not they're not that old antiquated version of a pro wrestler. You look Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Mustafa Ali, you know, guys like that. They're average size guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're not 7'3", 7'4", 400 or 500 pounds like Vince thinks everybody should be in order to be a successful wrestler. Sami Zayn is another one. So
KO with the dad bod.
yeah, KO with the dad bod. And I've had people tell me that they didn't like Kevin Owens because he didn't look like a pro wrestler. I'm like, Dusty Rhodes didn't look like a pro wrestler either.
Mm-mm.
But Dusty would beat the crap out of you. Dusty looked like the truck driver that lived down the street.
Yep.
Kevin Owens looks like the truck driver that lives down the street, but you don't want to fight him.
Nope. And
That's the thing. I gravitate more towards the guys I can relate to. I can relate to Kevin Owens.
yep. And of course, Paul Heyman grabs the mic first,
Yeah.
and the crowd just was hanging on his every word.
Yep.
Saying, "My name is Paul Heyman," and
Yeah.
however
They.
many thousands of
Yep.
people, tens of
Yeah.
thousands, right there. When Sammy came in and grabbed the mic, and
Oh.
I just kind of stuck my ear like, okay, this is going to be. And when he said something as he grabbed the mic, I'm like, was that English or was he speaking Arabic? Now, all of a sudden he started speaking. He was speaking
Speaking.
Arabic,
Yeah. That
and
honestly, I got goosebumps when he started doing that
yeah,
because it's like you could tell how much that meant to him to
yep.
be able to be in Saudi in front of that crowd and being able to, you know, speak in Arabic. And he did the whole thing, and it was like the crowd was in awe of him
Yeah,
while he was doing the ring announcement.
I don't know what he was saying, but they were responding.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
They were
because
responding to every word he said.
you could hear at certain points he would stop, and they would respond
Yeah.
with something.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I may
Yep.
have to send a video clip to this to my stepdad and say,
Mm-hmm.
"Can you translate this?"
Right.
Because he speaks Arabic. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, but now I'm kind of wondering with Sami Zayn. Now, obviously, we've heard him speak English. When
Mm-hmm.
they go to Montreal, him and Kevin Owens always
Speak
speak
French.
French,
Yep.
and so now he's speaking Arabic.
Hmm.
I wonder if he may have the record for the most languages spoken in a ring.
Nope.
Nope.
It's
Who is it?
Cesaro.
Oh,
He did 5.
he's done 5.
Yep.
Because I mean, I know Cesaro. Yeah, I know he can speak a lot of languages. Of course, I mean he's Swiss because that's kind of that's
Yeah.
what they do in Switzerland. But let's
Yeah.
see,
No, he did
English, German, French,
English.
Italian. There's 4, and there's got to be one more. Cause yeah, we talked about this before. It's like which
Yeah.
one's the fifth one? And there was
I can't. Yeah, because there was definitely 5 because that was part of the promo that he was cutting. It was that he could speak 5 languages.
all right. Now I'm gonna have to look up Cesaro. Um, but while I'm looking this up, the match itself was um just like exactly what we thought. It ended how we thought it should end.
Hmm.
Um, and that was yeah.
If the Usos do not win some award for Tag Team of the Year, it is going to be a crime because not
Yes.
only the in-ring work is fantastic, their acting has been fantastic through this whole thing. And when Jimmy finally snapped, it was like that whole crowd was waiting on it, especially when Roman started shoving Jay in the face.
I know.
And then
Oh,
when he started, he
oh,
shoved him once and said, there ain't no more day one," and then shoved him again, told him to get out of his ring, and turns around and eats a super kick. And you can
yep.
see Jimmy's like, "Don't touch my brother." You could just see that look on his face. And then when he said, "I'm doing what you should have done a long time ago, I got you," and then super kicked Roman again.
Oh, apparently he speaks 6 languages.
6. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Even
never
more
mind.
impressive.
Never mind. He says wrestling he considers to be the 6th language.
Oh God.
I should have read the article before I said that. Um, he said he's fluent in English, French, Italian, German, and his native Swiss German. So I guess a dialect of German in Switzerland.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I speak Morse code. What do you think about that? Um, and I took 3 years of Spanish in high school. Don't remember anything, because didn't have to use it.
I remember all the bad words.
Yeah, I remember all the bad words. And I remember when our Spanish teacher, Senor Faulkner, all of a sudden, every once in a while you look down in his office and he's down there smoking a cigarette in his office that
Yeah.
had no windows. So
Yeah.
that's yeah. Dude would come in just big old cloud.
Reeking. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of course, actually, Mr. Dawson, you remember the math teacher who had polio in the
Hmm.
wheelchair? He would leave class and go to this one room where he would smoke.
Yeah.
And one time the bell rang, and my next class was actually in his wife's class for science. And I walked
Hmm.
right past her when he came out, this big cloud just, and but anyway, but yeah, so that one, you could tell the crowd was super into that match. Um, and it ended, thankfully, how we wanted it to end.
Hmm.
Um, but
And they did the smart thing with the entrances. Roman came
mhm.
out first because he wasn't defending the title. He was challenging. So him and Solo come out first because there was no way Roman was going to get a bigger pop than Sammy
No,
being in Jeddah.
no.
So that was the smart move to have KO and Sammy come out, not just because they were the defending champions, but because of the reaction that Sammy got.
And man, that was, uh, you know, I'm trying to think of any time we've had like bigger pops. Um,
I don't know, his pop in Montreal was huge too, but
yeah, where
and the pop he got when he put the chair in Roman's back
yes,
at the Rumble, that was that pop was huge because everybody had been waiting on that.
they're saying there was only 13,000 people there. Huh?
Really?
Yeah, I'm surprised. Either that or they missed a zero, and maybe it was 100.
I mean, it's possible because that stadium is huge.
Um, Jeddah is where you do the Islamic pilgrimage. Um, you know, um, well, it's a travel hub for the pilgrimage.
Hmm.
Come on, I'm trying to find the name because it's going to drive me nuts not knowing what the big thing is called. Um, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to bore people who are listening or watching. They're going, I can't. I got it on YouTube because Riley Matthews, said this is a great show, and this idiot's over here looking at his phone. So, um, but yeah, I mean, all in all, I mean, yeah, I thought it was a great show, and on one of the boards we're on, wrestling with an idea.
Hmm.
Our buddy Johnny Valentine actually got every match correct with his prediction.
Did he really?
Yep,
Uh,
yep. So, um, so I mean, we've never even done that. We've come close, but we've never
yeah.
gotten that. Um, but and I know there's still the controversy about them being in Saudi, and of course, talking to my wife about it, she is not a big fan of them going to Saudi because of Saudi's well-earned reputation as not being the best for human rights. I mean, she said, "Well, why do they keep going back?"
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, she asked, "Why do they keep going back over there?" And she's like, "How much money is it?" I'm like, "It's like $25 million every time they go back."
Yeah.
So I said,
It's just, and yeah.
yeah, I'm not saying that justifies it. Um, but
And they're already in a contract. So if they don't go, then they're in breach of contract.
yep,
So their hands are really tied now legally.
yep. Because I mean, when they first did the contract, they didn't know they were going to cut some dude up in Turkey and put him in a trash bag.
E- Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
so
And
um,
everybody was like, "Oh, well, they should just pull out or they should just no show." And it's like, and I get the sentiment.
yeah,
I don't think they should go over there either. But legally, they
legally,
have to because they signed an agreement for, I think it was like a 10-year deal. They signed an agreement. So legally, they're bound to that agreement.
so it feels like in Spaceballs, he's like, "We're not just doing this for money. We're doing this for a crap load of money."
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what they're doing it for. A crap load of money.
Yeah. So in the meantime, the next pay per view is
Money in the bank
Money in the
in
Bank
London.
in London. So apparently,
I,
we're just
yeah.
going to go, which is not a bad
I'm
thing.
liking these non-US crowds. No disrespect to the US crowd, but they see this type of wrestling constantly.
Hmm.
Going to other places, especially like going to London for Money in the Bank, because you know WWE kind of went through and gutted the UK wrestling scene when they did NXT UK. They snatched up all the good talent, and so the UK has been building that back up, but their fan base are rabid wrestling fans, and I think you're going to get because the US crowds, sadly, were spoiled because we get such good wrestling all the time that a lot of times these US crowds at wrestling shows are kind of just sitting on their hands because it's like, I've seen this before, blah 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 blah. You saw how Puerto Rico, in Saudi, I'm sure it's going to be that way in London. It's like they are going to be so appreciative of what they're seeing.
They are, and I kind of wonder if all of a sudden they're going back to London in a response to AEW heading to London.
I can't remember who booked what first because I remember seeing WWE was going to do Money in the Bank in London, but I don't know if it was before or after Tony Khan announced that AEW was going to London.
I mean, now to book any of the any of the big events like that, I mean, it's not just something you can call, "Hey, next week can I come over there and do
Right.
a show?" I mean, it's something that has to be done like months and sometimes a year, couple years in advance.
Yeah.
Um, but it does kind of make me wonder, like you said, who did it
Yeah.
first? I mean,
Yeah. And I mean, at least it's going to benefit. It's at the end of the day, it's going to benefit wrestling fans because you're
mhm,
going to get Money in the Bank, which is, unofficially the fifth, their number five pay per
yep,
view um, each year. And London's getting that one, and then in August they're getting All Out and from AEW, which we know AEW's track record of putting on excellent wrestling pay-per-views. So
and I have
it's just a bonus for the fans.
and I haven't watched the one from this past Saturday yet. I might be able to, like maybe today, but I also have to mow today. So
Hmm
that's another reason I'm grateful we're actually recording this in the middle of the day. So because that way it'll cool down when I actually go out and mow.
Yeah.
Because my grass actually really does need mowing, and thankfully we haven't actually had any rain the past couple days, so I can able to get the grass in the ditches because right now that grass it looks like it's almost trees by this point.
Oh wow.
So yeah, because our the ditches in our front yard, I mean, they of course it's a drainage ditch, and so when the water gets
Hmm
in there, it just stays there, and you can't take a mower through. That's why like every house there, you could tell well, it's been a long time, you know, when people have been able to get in there because every house on our road will have that grass. Well, right
Right.
now mine's one of the only ones that actually has the grass left because of the past couple of days, everybody else has been able to get in there and get theirs. So, um, but anyway, so um, we're still due to record Thursday, I believe,
hmm
and I'm keeping my ear open for any kind of interviews coming our way. And I do have to address something. I told you about this. This is kind of funny but sad at the same time. I'm not going to say any names, but somebody has apparently been telling people they've been on our show
Oh yeah.
when they
We
haven't
talked
not
about this
been.
yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they have not.
they have not been
They've
on our
never been on the
show.
show.
Um, it's an indie wrestler who I did speak to once before about coming on the show, and he was basically wanting to get paid.
Mm.
And I'm like, dude, you're not even that good in the end. I mean, you're good, but
Yeah.
you're
But you're not in a position in the business to be wanting to get paid for an interview.
right. And and he's got a kind of a bad attitude, and and I don't even know if we've mentioned him on the show before. I think we've also mentioned him as basically like Mr. Bad Attitude,
I
with
think
that
so. I
risk.
don't think we've mentioned him by name. Not that I can
But
remember.
yeah, I had two people this past Saturday at Revolution Rising. And, they were both together when they asked it, but they said,
Hmm
"Hey, has he been on your show?" No. Okay, we didn't think so, but he's been telling people he has. I'm like, do what? And I'm like, why would somebody walk around saying that they've been on the show when all you have to do is look in our archives
hmm
and see that he's never popped up? And if you try to say, well, but they deleted it, I can say no because every recording we have, especially since we went to recording on Zoom, I keep an archive of, regardless
hmm
of if we actually post it.
Right.
And there's only been one episode that I could think of where we actually and it was actually quality, like the sound. That was the one where it
Oh
was,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I was having all sorts of connect.
Where the sync was off, and yeah.
Yeah, and it did get uploaded for a second, but then I immediately pulled it back down.
hmm
And we were still on Blog Talk then.
Yeah, yeah,
So but now if somebody wants to come on the show, like I said, let us know, let me know, let Dwayla know, let both of us know.
yeah,
And
yeah. All you gotta do is ask, and we'll get you scheduled. So you don't have to say you've been on the show when you haven't. All you have to do is reach out to us.
right. And we've not had an interview yet where we're like, you know what, that was garbage. We're not gonna,
Mm-mm, never.
yeah. So, but oh well, I just thought that was kind of funny. But anyway, um, for anybody wanting to reach out to us, of course, email the show armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Try to get some TikToks going. I still suck at TikTok. Um, but the YouTube channel, we're picking up viewers there. So, and I'm glad about that. Picking up subscribers and, just let us know, give us ratings and reviews, especially on any of the platforms where you can do ratings and reviews, because that really helps us out.
hmm
So it gets us putting like if you like this show, you'll like this other one kind of list.
Yeah, right.
So at one point we were in the top 100 as far as wrestling podcasts go. We've been doing it, but it's been a while. Um, so uh, but any kind of advice besides me not saying all the time, but but any kind of show topics, let us know. I mean, we're always open to suggestions, and if we think it fits, I mean, we'll go with it. And sometimes we'll
Oh
say,
yeah.
you know what, it may not fit right now, but we'll definitely keep it in our pocket for use
Yep.
later. So,
Yep.
but until we can record again, my friend, just say goodbye and God bless.
God bless.